So, John and Gloria, thank you so much for coming back.
Yeah,
Thank you, Daisy.
Yeah.
Yes, it's so good to see you both. As we were talking about last time I saw you, a couple of things that you know we became aware of course, is as we discussed, is the fact that a lot of your arguments, a lot of the issues, the conflict that you have, you know, the challenges that you encounter as a couple, are connected to culture, the cultural difference.
Yeah.
And as we were talking about, we became aware of that, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing is, of course, connected to that as well, is the fact that even though you've been married for 10 plus years, that there is very little you know about each other's culture as such. You encounter the issues at hand in practice in your life together, but kind of you haven't, it's not like you went to classes or something to, you know what I mean, to understand each other's culture. So I guess the point of today's session, I would like you to, I'd like us to tease that out a bit, to kind of get a bit of an idea, deeper understanding about the cultural difference. What is it like for you as an Australian man? What is it like for you as a Colombian woman? Because of course you're Colombian, you're Australian, quite very different, diverse cultures, right? And like you were talking about, you said something along the lines of polar opposites or something like that. You said, Gloria, earlier, if I recall well. And so those kind of things. So really I'd like to get us to tease that out a little bit more with the goal of gaining deeper understanding about each other and not get lost of that, because my general experience is with couples in general, people, you know, they get stuck a lot of the times with difference. And they feel that that's the problem, the difference. So the thing here is, of course, to remember, because now we have yet another layer, which is the layer of culture, so it becomes more problematic. So I want us with this, you know, with this session, I like you both to gain that deeper understanding. And because, as you know, that's the reason why you came to me anyway, because as the other practitioner that referred you to my practice was about that, because I work extensively with cross-cultural couples. So just to disclose a little bit, I myself come from a cross-cultural couple. My husband is Australian and I'm South American, and interestingly enough, you're South American too. Yeah. So there you go. So I'd like us to tease that out a little bit more. That's okay with you? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Does that work?
That sounds great.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
All right. Now, perhaps we can talk about it, because in certain, you know, as we discussed last time, differences relate to your value system, the differences, as we talked about perceptions, how you view the world, how you view your role in the world, how you see yourself as a wife, how you see yourself as a husband, but you come from, you know, from Colombian terms, and then for you from Australian terms. And so I want to tease that out a little bit more, and maybe you can bring some examples of how those issues become apparent in your relationship, in your everyday life, and how, you know, and you can explain a little bit about your culture to gain that deeper understanding by the other person. Yeah, is that okay? Yeah. All right. So is there anything that comes to mind, either for you, John, or for you, Gloria, that you want to discuss and bring up, perhaps, and then we can just spend a little bit of time, which is each of these issues? And
one of the things is like, you know, like in Colombia, we like to help people, and sometimes for you it's a shock, like we do that, because, you know, here they usually people are, like, you know, each one is separate, and, you know, they don't, not like they don't help, but they help in different way. Like, you know, in Colombia we try to, like if somebody asks you, oh, can you lend me money? We feel like we have to do it because it's something like we have grown up with that one, you know, helping people like cousins, brothers if you need, and sometimes it's the case that happen that, you know, somebody in my family needs money, and I lend amount of money that I say they will going to pay me, and they didn't pay me, and that was a big issue.
I see. So this has become an issue for both of you. Like, this is something that you're getting stuck on, yeah?
Yeah.
So what?
Of course.
So okay. So for you, are saying something that you've done with the family and those kind of things, and you feel like it's an issue of contention. One of this kind of arguments and that. So for you, what is it that comes to mind when Gloria, you know, when this issue becomes apparent? So what kind of thing, what comes up for you?
Well,
In your mind?
it's just that it comes out of nowhere, and
Yeah.
sometimes it already happens, that
Yeah.
you've already lent the money.
Right.
I'll find out about it later, and you know, maybe it's not going to break the bank, but it's a lot of money, and it gets me that part of it is I feel like they're just taking advantage
Right.
of my wife,
Right.
but also the fact that you're not telling me, you just go ahead and do it.
Yeah, but and sometimes the reason I didn't tell John is because, you know, I trust the people. They say they were going to pay me, and then the money was there, so he won't notice.
Well, they're always going to say
So,
that. They're
yeah.
always going to say, trust me.
Yeah, and I didn't really, you know, think like it was going to be a problem. But in that case, they come something like that, and
And then they don't pay it back.
Right.
yeah, and yeah, I felt like it's a bit like John need to also understand that it's a culture. He didn't do it like a bad to, you know, like for us, but
Yeah.
it's like it's our culture that is like.
I just wanted to check in for
Yeah.
what happens for John,
Yeah.
before you can, if that's okay with you,
Yeah.
Gloria. So what happens for you then when this happens? You think, okay, they're taking advantage of my wife. I just want to clarify that this is what you're saying. So take advantage of my wife, they're not going to pay back, and they put us at a disadvantage. Is that kind of what you're saying? So,
Exactly.
all right.
That's exactly how it is.
Right. So then, and then that leads to arguments.
Yes.
Yeah, and then what happens when this happens? What do you get stuck on? Like, what happens? Do you?
We get stuck because I feel like she's not giving my side of the story respect.
Right.
And I feel kind of empty.
Right.
Oh,
So,
I didn't feel, you know, I know that you feel like that. But also you can tell me because I didn't know you.
You should probably know.
But how we know, like, you know, like, it's like, it's like, because we different cultures, it's difficult to understand also, like, if I had a Colombian marriage, like, it will be maybe the same, that's what I'm thinking. You don't think they will affect that way, but sorry, just...
Well, maybe if it came up in conversation, but yeah, I just find out afterwards that this is what's happened.
Yes, I know it was bad on me to do that, like, without telling John, and yes, but yes, that's...
Right. So I can see, so for you, it's kind of like not being able to discuss it is part of the issue. So you see it from that perspective, you know, like taking advantage of it, not really discuss it as an issue of respect, you say. So for you, it's kind of like it's touching on that area.
Yes.
They're not respecting, but also you're not respecting me, kind of my way of thinking, or my perspective, or my values, or the way I see this. And so, but I noticed also that Gloria was kind of, she was touched by when you said, you know, and that makes me sad, that makes me, you know, and then she came up and she said, oh, I didn't know you felt that way, so she was unaware of this, right? And then you were touching on what it is like that for you. So for you, it's just you feel like taken advantage and you feel like disrespected and all this, and that makes you sad, and you know. And for you, Gloria, do you want to give a bit of an idea to John? What is it? Where does that come up from? And you know.
Yeah, you see, I come from Colombia. Our cultures are different. Like, you know, you grow up in Colombia. Is the value is to help people, like, and the help is with you know anything you can do for them. Like it's like sharing. You know, like you have something you share with everybody, with your family, and try to help as much as you can. You know, and it's just in my nature because you know I grew up that way.
But it's okay to share, but you're sharing our stuff now. You're not just sharing your stuff. You're sharing our stuff. Like it's our money, and you're just sharing it. And you're not even letting me know that you've shared it.
Yeah, I understand. It was wrong on me, like in that way, and I'm sorry, but it's also one John to understand my you know my culture. Like that's the way. Like for me. If I don't have, I feel bad in a way, like I feel like
So explain to John what that means to you, because he gave you a bit of an idea. What was it like that for him? in you not telling him, it was kind of disrespectful. He felt like you're taking advantage, not you, but you know, other people were taking advantage, you know, and kind of disadvantaging you, the two of you, and your finances and the two of you. So then you are seeing his reality, and he sees it. And so for you, if you can explain a little bit to him as well, where that comes from, so you, John, can get a bit more of an idea.
That'd be great.
Understanding.
Yeah,
So
that'd be good.
Yeah, like you know, because the thing is something like I feel like I cannot change. It's something like I grew up with that one. Like, you know, like you have to help people. And for me, somebody asked me to lend money or help them, I feel like I had to do that because that's the way I am. But it's something like it's the way I am, and I grow up like that, and it's difficult for me to change that. It's my values from my family, from the customs of my from where I come from, and I know here different. So, but I also would like John to understand that, you know, that the different culture. This is a cultural issue because most, you know, like if you don't do it, you feel like is you getting them down, the family and people.
So you're kind of touching on this idea of collectivism, isn't it? Like in Colombia and places South America, that it's about us helping. It's for you, for here in Australia, I guess in terms of you know, for you, John, kind of thinking, okay, we're a couple, we are family.
Yeah.
And we need to support each other financially or otherwise, emotionally, in any other way, physically, and all of that. And I guess for you, the way you see that is, yes, you see John, he's your husband, the most intimate person, but you also see the collective.
Yeah.
So the family, friends, it tends to be part of your values, and a part of your belief system, that in helping you need to include all those people.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, a lot of sense.
Yeah? How so? How so?
Well,
How does it make sense?
I didn't really sort of
yeah.
see it like that before.
Yeah.
I didn't see that that's what you think makes up for a good person. And if you're not doing that, you're not a good person.
Yeah, and that's what I feel. Like, you know, if I don't do that, I feel bad not doing that when I, you know, help
But, you know, if we talked about it, then maybe I could help you with that.
Yeah. So maybe, yes, what I can do is just talk.
Because I didn't realise that's how it was for you.
Right.
Yeah.
So having deeper awareness, deeper understanding about that, it help you to recognize that and to work with things.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Because for you, John, here, you know, in Australia, in terms of helping people, what would you do? What would be your, you know, what in your family? Give us an example in terms of in your family. The idea, the notion of helping.
Well, for us, we've always been told that you don't. There's some things you don't loan, and money is one of them.
Yes.
Money's the main one, because if you want to lose a friend, you give them your money.
I see.
And you don't
Did
see
you know
them
this,
again.
Gloria? Did you know this? Is this something new to you?
If you want to lose a friend, you give them some money and they don't pay you back, and that's it.
For us, we had to, you know, like, it's help them all the time. If you friend, you help them more because that's just very.
Do they ever give it back?
Yeah, sometimes they give it back. Sometimes, you know, like you understand the situation. Depends, you know, it is. But it's something like you know, it's the way we are, and it's a bit difficult to change. Right. You know, like I understand now that for John is different. Yes. Yeah, and I didn't know, you know, like that, and and now that I know, yes, I can, you know, tell you what when somebody asks me, I will, you know, confirm with John if we can do it. But for me before, it's like, you know, if you have it, you give it.
Yeah.
And that's the way the people are in there.
And this is the thing, is I guess it's about acknowledging each other, the differences, but it comes from before you. You know, before you, your ancestry, your people before your family, because you mentioned something along the lines of my family, we all do that. So in Colombia, there's this idea about the idea of helping, the notion of helping. It involves all of that, and it's bigger. Bigger, and also the nature within which you give a hand is different from Australia. For example, the money isn't difficult one.
Yes.
And you know, like you were saying, you know, that's something with the saying that you use. You know, it's like if you lose a friend, if you give them, you know, it's the opposite.
Yeah,
Whereas for you,
Easiest
it's
way.
so different.
whereas
yeah.
in Colombia, it's the other way around. You're keeping a friend, like it's a
Yeah,
friendship
that's
collective
yes,
by doing
yeah.
that. So it's and I can see what you were talking about, polar opposites,
Yeah.
because it's very different. It's
Yeah.
in different ideas, different realities.
Yeah, that's
So it makes sense. So I guess this is something to bear in mind, you know,
Yeah.
one of the things. And what is it then by doing that, what are the kind of things that you're going to be mindful of from now on, the two of you? Because it's about, part of this process is about, well, obviously, as I said, you know, gaining a deeper understanding about each other's culture and how that impacts and what you can do about it, incorporating the two of them. So you're still acknowledging both. You're not saying yours is not good, yours is not good. You know, I can see what this is important to you, and I can see what's important to you, and trying to, you know, blend it in a way that you are valuing and acknowledging and respecting each.
Get it?
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Makes
Yes.
sense, right? So those are the conversations you need to be having a little bit more.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
true.
That'd
Yeah.
be good.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and there's another issue that you were bringing up before. I remember the last session that you said you wanted to discuss, which was about private disclosure or something. What was it that you were talking about?
Yeah.
Is this a good time to discuss that?
Yeah, it is. It's just that we discuss things in private,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought they'd stay private.
Right.
Gloria
Yeah,
talks to her friends about it,
I see.
and then I hear them talking about it, and I thought it was, you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And I thought it was private,
Right.
Yeah, but it's,
Okay.
you know, what I
you
say
know,
is,
between you and me.
yeah, but it's on something like, you know, like, it's also, you know, like the way we are, like, you know, Latins, we talk, and it's like, it's no, like secrets or something like that, like
Yeah.
you just tell, and it's normal, it's okay
It's
to
not
say
a secret.
things.
It's just,
But it's-
just don't talk about it. It's
Right.
Yeah, but-
confidential.
John,
But
is this okay if I ask you what was the topic? Is this okay to tell me what to talk
Oh
about?
well.
To name it? Is that okay?
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's not really a big thing.
Yeah.
I probably feel embarrassed talking about it because
Right.
it's not a big thing, but it's just, you know, I don't like broken glass.
Right.
So if glass breaks, it's sort of a paranoia. So, you know, I know it doesn't make sense.
Right.
I know it's not even a big deal.
Yeah.
I know that. But when it happens, it's different, and I just go, you know, I'm like kind of terrified and scared.
Right.
And sorry, and so it upsets me a lot. And
Yeah. So
you
you've
know,
been talking about
so
it.
when you talk to your friends about it,
Gosh.
you know, out loud.
Right.
but I didn't know
Right.
you were said
But
like
I
that.
know I shouldn't be, and it's just, you know, it's nothing like it.
Yeah, but I didn't know you know you were getting upset because of that. Either I knew it, maybe I didn't. I couldn't have told them my friend, but yes, I really didn't know.
So Gloria, now that you know that this is something, because for you, yeah, it's kind of tough.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean,
Mm.
I probably shouldn't be, you know, silly like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just the thing I saw that, you know, like simple thing like that is didn't
Yeah.
mean anything.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
It's okay.
yeah. So we're talking about here about intimate sharing, what I kind of call like it's thinking about something like, you know, with apprehension or paranoia or fears that you may have, and that's something that you want to only discuss within the closest space, just the two of you, you know, in an intimate manner. And for you, John, that's what I'm gathering, right? And Gloria, for you is the kind of, you know, the idea of these kind of things being shared amongst your close friends. It means that they are able to, how would that be helpful? Apart from the fact, like you are saying, well, in my culture we share
Yeah.
together. How else is it helpful in sharing some of these, bringing some of these ideas? Is that because they help you, or would that help you in your relationship, or what kind of help
it's-
John understand?
Okay, because in Colombia we share, you know, the thing is in Colombia family are, you know, they get very close to us, like to everybody. You know, you had anything, everybody is there. So you see, you always had the family with you. Like John knows because he had been in Colombia, and when all my family came, yes, it's part of the culture.
Yeah.
Everybody. If you had a problem, everybody's there. You don't take decisions. So it's just the normal thing. Like that's the normal thing. You talk about everything, like the things.
So the aim of this is to help them.
Yeah.
So when you talk about it's a problem, let's discuss it so we can help.
Yeah.
So to you, this came from a place of helping John, telling this, sharing with you.
Yeah. Like that's the thing, because I think
I didn't realize that.
I tell that John is scared that they might be careful and they don't break any glass. That's my intention to tell John is scared of glass, so please be careful. Like it's kind of the thing, so they know, so they don't break any glass, or they at least they careful of doing any things.
Yeah.
That's only my intention. Didn't want it like make you feel bad.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's that's the only intention. But because and you tell, and it's not only family. You tell your friends, and that's the way. But I didn't know it was something like you didn't want me to tell people.
So I guess what's the learning here then? What's the learning? What are you taking away from that? What are you taking away from that particular topic?
Like maybe I had to ask John, like more like communication with John before I say something to my friend.
Yes.
Like, and also ask John what's his feelings about the thing.
Right.
Yeah, because I didn't know that he was like, he didn't like that.
Right. You weren't aware of it.
Yes, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah. So talking about openly is something like you can check in with him more before you go out there and talk about it. And then within the two of you, then you can discuss that, because it's something intimate, and so he like that to stay there. So this is kind of the discussions that you can have. What is okay and what's not okay, kind of about boundaries. What leaves the room, what doesn't leave the room, what leaves the house, what doesn't leave the house, those kind of things.
Exactly.
Because
the way.
Because that's true, because for Latin, like we talk each other, like when we meet with the girls or something like that, we just having fun and talk, and it's like very open, like but there maybe you had to be careful what I say.
That would be great.
Yeah, so through communication that can come up, isn't it? And part of that communication, because you brought up last time as well, I think John named something about coming from two different planets, kind of thing, from what I recall. If I recall well, I'm sorry if I missed it.
Yeah, that's right. I think for most people, it's enough that men come from one planet and women from another planet, and then we've got the two different languages on top of that. So it's like I feel like we've got extra things to deal with. It's not just man and woman trying to get together. It's man and woman and different languages.
Right. Right. It's interesting that you talk about languages, because a lot of the work that I do, I've noticed with cross-cultural couples that I noticed that the language is very much culture soaked. So the language that you use, and kind of the idea of being, the first language, your native tongue, it's connected with the intimate language. So the areas of discomfort might be different. You might connect with your initial, like for you it's Spanish, of course. Your native tongue and your second language is English. For you it's your native tongue, your initial, your first language, your primary language is English, and you know a little bit of the Spanish, but because Gloria has migrated here, so that's the second language. And there are areas that you were mentioning before, sometimes you bring Spanish into it. And then you kind of lose her a little bit, you disconnect from her, you said? Yes, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Feel a bit empty.
But what I said to John is like, I think it's because, I speak different language, like Spanish. I think sometimes what I'm thinking, to say in Spanish doesn't mean in English. So the way I communicate to John is like maybe the way I communicate in Spanish, but maybe doesn't mean the same. So maybe John understand different and then
Right.
it does maybe know what I meant to say,
Right.
and I heard you, but it's the way
Right.
we maybe are in, and
Right.
maybe the lack of, I don't know, it maybe the fully knowledge of the language.
Right. Is it the knowledge of the language? I'm curious here. Is it the knowledge of the language, like the actual,
Yeah.
grammar
Yeah.
and all these things,
Yeah.
or is it be something deeper than that? It's kind of your idea, because as I was saying earlier about the culture soaked, language being culture soaked, where there is something along the lines of that your idea, this is what you want from your perspective, and you're trying to communicate this wish or perspective or viewpoint, but through the delivery, the route of delivery, they kind of lose that a little bit. Like by the time it arrives, it says something else. So John kind of disconnects from you because Spanish is not his language.
Yeah.
And also by the time it arrives to him, it arrives in a different package to what he's understanding. In addition to the language not being his, that is the tone within which, what's happening, so the perspective. So it's kind of, and then you lose disconnect from one another. Is that kind of what happens?
Yeah, you got it exactly.
Yeah.
Really?
That's exactly how it is.
Right.
Yeah, and also sometimes they say, you didn't ask me, and I say, yes, I asked you, something like that. But it's, the thing is, because in my head, I think I asked John to something, but the way I express it in English is this way maybe I express it in Spanish, and doesn't mean, for John maybe it was an affirmation that I say instead of a question, like, because in Spanish.
Do you want to give an example?
Yes, an example, yes, like when a question in Spanish is like say you want to say do you sleep well?
Yes.
You don't ask for the, like, you would say dormiste bien. It's like a confirmation.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And sometimes I say dormiste bien is a question, but it's not this kind of the question, but like say, one thing like a camping is like did you wash the dishes, or did you bring the clothes inside? Yeah.
Right.
But I say, I instead of say we might say bring the clothes inside. So mean like I blow the clothes inside, and
so
then
like
it sounds to be like a command.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
exactly like
Right,
a
I
command.
get
I feel
it.
like I'm being
I
told
get
off
it.
all the time.
Right.
Like, well, okay, not all the time, but I feel like I'm being pushed around.
Right.
yeah, and I didn't mean it's like maybe the way, but and I said no, I didn't mean, I didn't send you to do it or something
I
like.
see. And when is it that you then realize that this is an issue? Well, obviously this would have come up at the beginning from your relationship in your 10 years plus together.
It seems like more now than in the beginning.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
But
Is that what you
I
feel
think
too?
as I
I
remember,
think-
you probably did it early as well.
Yeah.
But I
I
seem to
think I had
notice it
been-
more now.
I think I've been the same all the time. Maybe now, because we have been more years, maybe John at the beginning was, didn't care.
Yes.
I don't think you maybe care too much. Or, when you are at the beginning, the relation is it's like you pass everything and
Right.
the years. But I think that's my problem when I speak in English.
Right.
And then maybe John take it in the wrong way,
Right.
and it's not like I wanted to order something to do in that way, or it's because maybe the language when in my head is thinking different, and I'm thinking to ask you
Right.
instead of order to do something.
When you hear it's not a command, now that you know that this is not a command, that is just a form of the delivers in the language. This is the different style of communication.
Yes.
What does that bring to you? What comes up for you in terms of your understanding? What is it?
It's great. I never realised that. It's like it makes more sense now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm starting to realise what you mean. That it's not a command. That's just how your language goes.
Yeah.
Because it sort of goes the other way around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't realise. Maybe I was just taking it the wrong way.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. It's
Yeah.
misunderstanding each other
Yeah.
and losing each other.
I think
kind
it
of
is.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
the
So when you
conflict.
say just do
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes I felt worried. Why John is like that when I say
What would John
something?
be his reaction?
Like
when you did that?
and
He's
goes
upset,
away or
angry?
something.
oh, I
And,
just,
yes, and
Right.
they do
Just
he
move away.
yes, and
Right.
then say what what's going on? And
Yes.
I don't know what he's thinking. You know, like
Yes.
he has to tell me because I don't know. And then I say,
Yeah.
what's wrong?
I see.
And I feel
I
bad. Like what happened with me? Or I feel like maybe he's changing
Yes.
now or something. Like
Right.
yeah.
So what is the takeaway then for you both in hearing this? Is about this style of communication. We talked about helping people and we're talking about private disclosure, like things that we talk about and share within the space, your own space. Now, what is to be kept inside the house, within the confines of the room or the house, and etc., etc. So what's the takeaway for both of you?
Wow. I think for me, maybe just not assuming what Gloria says is like bad. Maybe make the assumption that it was actually from a good space, from a good intention.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's the thing, that what she said she meant to say in a good way.
Yes.
I've heard it in a bad way,
Mm-hmm.
but that maybe wasn't your intention. Maybe your intention was to, perhaps I can just assume the intention was good, as it seems like I probably made a mistake and maybe it really was a good intention.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
I think that's my takeaway.
Right. Good. And so in knowing this, because it's the culture after all, right? That you're learning about.
Yes.
The different, because what we've talked about today is about cultural difference. And so the takeaway is about each individual of the topics that we discuss, how they're not, it comes from a place not of ill intention, but
Yes.
it's caught up, as I said, cultural salt, And so therefore, what do you then altogether you take away in terms of the culture itself? What kind of things? So it's about the examples that we talked about last session. We also talked about this session, the topics. So what is it that you are then will remember or bear in mind and next time when you're interacting with one another in terms of communication, in terms of information sharing, boundaries, all those kind of things, in terms of your values and all those kind of
That's
things.
right, because it's hard, isn't it? You know that.
Yes, it's difficult, and also just to understand from my point of view, now that I know what he feels when I do something, so maybe yes, I think I will try to talk to him before I do something, because yes, it's like I didn't know his feelings, and also now that I understand how you feel when I do things, so it is important for me. So I now aware of what I can do to accept him, and yeah.
That would be great. That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's only because we haven't had this section with you, Daisy, that we knew, because otherwise, like, we never talk about it. Yeah, like we pretend that it's okay, and John doesn't say how he feels, and I don't say anything to him. And
Don't really
it
talk
seems to
very
be-
much.
Yeah, and I think it's because the language maybe.
Yeah, and I guess it goes back to the beginning, isn't it, where you got stuck in arguments and all that. You thought, okay, there's the ill intention here, or there's something happening, or she's not taking into account myself or my needs, or the needs of, in general, like, as I was saying, with collectivist culture, these are kind of the needs,
Yes.
this is how we display this. This is what help represents or looks like in Colombia. This is what help looks like, giving help or offering help in Australia.
Yeah, exactly.
In communication, this is what I communicate to you. This is what I want to tell you. And by the time it delivers, it might be a little bit different. So now you have a deeper understanding in terms of those things as well.
Exactly.
So I guess it's about really, this session has been particularly helpful, or I guess the focus of this has been specifically to just deepen the understanding, as I said. Being able to acknowledge each culture, each person. After all, you fell in love with this beautiful woman who is, her sense of or helping and all this kind of thing is what attracted you to Gloria to start with, right? So then that's kind of thing. So that's remembering, and that's what connected you to her. So it's about embracing, and vice versa. That's what connected you with John.
Yeah.
You knew you came from different cultures. So it's
Yes.
about embracing and celebrating
Yes.
that difference rather than seeing that as a point of contention. But embrace it and celebrate that.
Thank you, Daisy.
Thank you, Daisy.
Thank you for coming
No,
in.
but thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Looking forward to seeing you again.
That's
Yes,
great.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All the
Daisy.
best.
Thank you.